You know the song by now, huh? Jaya Radha. How about you, Prabhu? Jaya Radha Madhava. You know where to get it. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jai Mr. Bad Paramahansa Padjagacharya Ashtotar the Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padjagacharya Ashtotar the Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantarashima Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So I guess Jamal has been out of commission too, huh? No verse today. Okay. All right. There we go. Oh. I'm sorry, I don't know who left it open. Can you shut that door? It sounds like an airplane trying to take off. Also, come here, Dharma. Okay, thank you. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva. Just give him a cushion right there. Give him that one of those cushions to put behind you. You can lean on the wall, but you have to have a cushion there. That's it. Yeah, the best one is the straight one. Yeah. Put it vertically. Put it vertically so you're not touching the wall. That's it. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Welcome, Bhakti-avatar. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On the second day of June 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are finishing chapter 12 of the fourth canto. This chapter is entitled Dhruva Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. The canto itself is entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order. And we're reading text number 52. Now, before we go on, do we have any? We have a fair number of devices, but not total number. Can you look on with him? You can look on with him. One of you gets up. You have to sit on a chair for him, because he's got to sit on a chair. You can sit on a chair. Okay. And I'm afraid you'll have to just wing it. Okay. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Dhruvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hitvarbaka kridanakani matur. Griham cha vishnum shadanam yojagama. Okay. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Dhruvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hitvarbaka kridanakani matur. Griham cha vishnum shadanam yojagama. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Dhruvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hitvarbaka kridanakani matur. Griham cha vishnum shadanam yojagama. Go ahead, Bala. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Dhruvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hitvarbaka kridanakani matur. Griham cha vishnum shadanam yojagama. Now, you want to try? Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Dhruvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hitvarbaka kridanakani matur. Griham cha vishnum shadanam yojagama. Jagannath, you want to try? You want to try? Chanting? You don't have to. Oh, you don't have something? I thought you were looking on. You're next, Glenn. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Dhruvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hitvarbaka kriddanakani matur. Griham cha vishnam sharanam yojagama. I'm sorry, I skipped you. You want to try it, Dharma? No? Okay, go ahead, Ace. Idam mayate bihitam kurudvaha. Durvasya vikyata vishuddha karmanaha. Hidvarbaka kriddanakani matur. Griham cha vishnam shadanam yojagama. Idam, this, maya, by me, te, unto you, abhihitam, described, kuru udvaha, O great one among the Kurus, Druvasya, of Dhruva, Vikyata, very famous, Vishuddha, very pure, Karmanaha, whose activities, Hitva, giving up, Arbakaha, child, Kriyadakani, toys and playthings, Matuhu, of his mother, Griham, home, Cha, also, Vishnum, to Lord Vishnu, Sharanam, shelter, Yaha, one who, Jagama, went. Translation: the transcendental activities of Dhruva Maharaj are well known all over the world, and they are very pure. In childhood, Dhruva Maharaj rejected all kinds of toys and playthings, left the protection of his mother, and seriously took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. My dear Vidura, I therefore conclude this narration, for I have described to you all its details. Purport. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that life is certainly short for everyone, but if one acts properly, his reputation will remain for a generation. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is everlastingly famous, so the reputation of Lord Krishna's devotee is also everlasting. Therefore, in describing Dhruva Maharaj's activities, two specific words have been used: Vikyata, very famous, and Vishuddha, transcendental. Dhruva Maharaj's leaving home at a tender age and taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the forest is a unique example in this world. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is the, thank you. This is the end of the Dhruva Maharaj chapters, and we have learned that this is one of the favorites for Lord Chaitanya to hear. He liked to hear this chapter again and again. So what are the wonderful qualities of this chapter? Why it's been praised so much in the last few verses here by Maitreya Muni? You may remember, or not, that this is a conversation. Of course, Bhagavatam is a conversation within a conversation with a conversation. Originally, Shukadev speaking to Parikshit Maharaj with Sutta Goswami in the audience, then he repeated it to the sages at Naimisharanya. And within that speaking, he's quoting many other conversations, one of which is Maitreya Muni to Vidura. Vidura was a very exalted soul. He was the brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. But because he was fathered by Vyasadeva, so he was a very exalted father, but his mother was kind of a maidservant. So he wasn't given the same kind of honor or respect, at least externally, as Pandu, especially, and Dhritarashtra eventually, who took the role of the king. But Vidura really was a pure devotee. And he was always helping the Pandavas to escape the nefarious plans and assassination attempts of the Kurus. So at a certain point, he advised Dhritarashtra straight out, you should kick Duryodhana out, because he's like a poison tree in the forest of this family, and he's going to bring down the whole clan, dynasty. So Duryodhana heard that, and instead he practically he kicked Vidura out of the palace, and he had nowhere to go. He was actually thankful. He said he left his sword or his bow on the doorstep, and he just went, And so he wandered around. He was chanting Hare Krishna while he was doing it, or the equivalent. And he met up with Uddhava. Now Uddhava is an extremely exalted soul, a very close associate of Lord Chaitanya, of Lord Krishna. And after Lord Krishna disappeared, he was bereft. But he was a completely realized soul, and he wanted to take instruction from him, Vidura. But it so happened that Vidura was elder to Uddhava, so he didn't feel it was proper that he should instruct him, and he guided him to Maitreya Muni, who also was there when Uddhava received the final instructions that Krishna gave, that we hear in the 11th canto, as the Uddhava Gita. Anyway, the result is that for this last 3rd and 4th canto, we've been hearing Maitreya Muni instruct Vidura. He told them all about Kapila Deva in the 3rd canto and many other things. And now he's speaking the 4th canto, and we've just heard about this wonderful pastime of Dhruva. So one of the things that comes out here is that why Dhruva is so famous is because for the sake of God consciousness. Now, of course, his motive was originally material. This is what's one of the wonderful things, is that he was insulted by his stepmother and not protected by his father, went to his real mother and told her what happened, Suniti. Suniti means extremely virtuous, and his stepmother was Suruchi, extremely physically attractive. So she was the favorite of the king. And the king was kind of henpecked. He was controlled. I mean, he should have protested the insult that Dhruva received from his stepmother, which was basically that you can't go on the lap of the king. You can't get the favor of the king without taking birth from my womb. And to do that, you'll have to pray to God. You have to find God first. Basically, she wanted her son, Uttama, to become the heir. This is a big deal, who's the eldest? Well, Dhruva was really the eldest, so she was trying to elbow him out of the situation so her son would be inherit the kingdom, and she would be in a great position. So Dhruva took this as a great insult, and what did he do? Well, the natural thing is to go to his mother. He's only 5 years old, so he goes to his real mother, who's living in a little, humble corner of the palace, and she said, "What can I do? I'm not the favorite queen. Your stepmother's the favorite queen, but she gave you good advice, and that is you have to find God." And Prabhupada adds, and I've heard that. So actually, the question is, the little boy is going to ask, "Well, where is he?" He said, "Well, I've heard that the great sages and the munis and the devotees, they go out into the forest to find God." He's a simple woman, So Dhruva starts trekking out. He says, "Okay, I'm going to." Boy, all these garlands are falling apart. So he goes out, and Narada Muni comes by. Narada Muni goes around the universe, and he's looking for good receptive ears for the instruction on devotion. And he gives just the right, whether it's a Hunter or Prahlada in the womb or Dhruva or Vyasadeva. So he sees Dhruva, tests him. He says, "You're too young. I'll teach you later. Go back home." And Dhruva says, "Thank you very much, O great sage, but I'm going out to the forest anyway." So he says, okay. So he starts instructing him, and he gives him instruction whereby he'll chant the holy name, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the same mantra we chant before the Bhagavatam class, which is an ancient mantra containing Krishna's names, Vasudeva. And also meditating on the Lord within the heart, and performing a little rudimentary deity worship you can make your own little deity. If you're out there, you have no facility, you can make a deity out of mud and worship that, and then dissolve it, and each day make it a new one. But there's a form there. And of course perform these severe austerities, which are like inconceivable. This is Satya Yuga. So Dhruva, he started, doing all those things, and at the same time restricting his diet. He was eating all organic and all raw, and not very much. He was eating the fruits that came off the tree, and after that he just ate the leaves, and after that he stopped eating anything solid. He was just breathing and drinking water, and then he was breathing slower and slower, controlling the breath. And after a few months of that, while meditating and chanting at the time, so the demigods became, they were choked up also. He was so powerful that he entrained the universal breathing, and they appealed to Vishnu to please do something. So he comes down, Dhruva is meditating carefully on the Lord in the heart, which he got this very detailed description from Narada, and he's meditating, he's completely absorbed. Suddenly he can't see that Lord in the heart anymore. He opens his eyes, and there's Vishnu in front of him on Garuda. And so he goes into complete ecstasy, he's crying, horripilating, that's hair standing on end. And he falls down, and he's in total ecstasy. So then he wants to offer prayers. But he's 5 years old, he doesn't know much Sanskrit. So he doesn't know what to do. So he gets touched on the forehead by the conch of Vishnu. He's got these four arms, he's got the conch, the lotus, the club, and the chakra. So he touches him with the conch, and suddenly he can offer these beautiful prayers. And I'll share two of them with you. So you've heard this before. I've often given it, but there's some new people here. And it's ever fresh. So the most famous prayer that he gave is not actually in the Bhagavatam. It's the one that Prabhupada would quote often. And it kind of summarizes the whole transformation of Dhruva's consciousness and why it's so important for us to hear this pastime and why Lord Chaitanya loved it so much. So he says, Sthanabhilashi tapasi stitoham, Sthanabhilashi tapasi stitoham, Tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam, Kacham vichinvan, api divyaratnam, Svaman kratartosmi varanyache. So he summarizes the whole pastime there. He says, Sthanabhilashi, Abhilash, we sing every morning, the Tulsi prayer. My Abhilash is to worship Radha and Krishna and always float along in the ocean of ecstatic prema, in love of Radha and Krishna. So Abhilash is very important. Sometimes it's just Asha. Abhilash is like ardent aspiration. Asha is just aspiration, but it's an aspiration. So they can bind us to this world, or they can take us back to Godhead. The whole bhakti yoga process is meant for purifying and refining our asha, our hope, our desires. So in the 16th chapter, what do we find? Asha, pasha, shata, baddha. The demons are bound to this material world by hundreds and thousands of material desires, like compared to ropes. Pasha is a rope, asha, pasha. You see? But the devotees are heading back to Godhead because they only want one thing. And then anyabhilashita shunyam, devoid of all other desires and simply desiring one thing, and that is to please Krishna. That simply to focus on Krishna, never forgetting him, and doing whatever is possible with our mind, body, words, wealth, and everything, to please Krishna. That's pure bhakti. And that places one in an ocean of ever-expanding bliss. That activity, having that mood. So Dhruva is describing here that I was situated in this penance, desiring this, kingdom greater than my great-grandfather, who happened to be Lord Brahma. But now I realize, but now I've gotten your darshan. Now I see you. He's looking at Vishnu. He's praying to Vishnu, which I realize now, who are hidden away from the greatest munis and yogis and even devotees. Very difficult to get darshan. To see God outside, it's one thing to see him in the heart, which is hard enough, but to actually get a vision where he appears before your eyes, this is very rare and very wonderful. So it says, Kacham Bachindva. Now I realize that kingdom I was hoping for is no better than broken glass. Then what to speak of our petty little desires here, you see? He's realizing reality. How can he have this perspective, this actual vision? Because he's gotten the Divya Ratnam, the divine jewel of pure devotion to Krishna, which also includes darshan, direct darshan. So that's the comparison. And then the bottom line, the last line of the verse, Svaman Kratatosmi Vadangdiyachi. My dear Lord, I don't want anything else. I'm completely satisfied with your devotion and seeing you. So Dhruva has undergone a transformation. His heart is transformed. He was determined, to get that kingdom, which is a material desire. But he followed the orders of his spiritual master, Narada Muni. And he didn't know how that was going to work, but he just followed carefully, meditating and chanting the name and performing these austerities. And he was purified. And now he realizes the reality that anything material in this world, even up to the kingdom of Brahma, is no more than dirt in the street compared to pure love for Krishna, his service eternally, and a situation in the spiritual world. So that's the most famous prayer. Now, what's the one in this the one prayer that I memorized that he uttered actually, and it's recorded in the Bhagavatam, very very important. He says, prayer. What is a prayer? Let's think about that word prayer. Now, in English, in the West, generally prayer means you go before God and you ask for something, which is part of what prayer means. Perhaps the most famous part, most obvious part. You pray to God, or you can pray to anyone else for something you don't have. You're articulating some desire. But prayer also in Vandanam, this word Vandanam, yesterday we heard about the 9 parts of devotional service, one of which is Vandanam. And Vandanam includes more than just asking God for something. It actually begins with offering obeisances. Namaste Saraswati Devi. That's Vandanam. So I was one time I did this seminar on Vandanam with Ramapada Maharaj in Chicago a few years ago. And I was thinking, what is Vandanam? We have Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapata Kamalam. This is part of the Mangala Charan that some devotees chant before every class. Vrindanandana Prabhu is at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita in the introduction. So this is a Vandeham, this is Vandanam. And you're offering obeisances to all the parampara, beginning with your guru, and then the gurus, including the Shiksha gurus, and the 6 Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya, the Panchatattva, finally Radha and Krishna, and even Lalita and Vishakha. So it goes all the way up, offering obeisances. So that's certainly part of Vandanam. So you have these 2 elements, obvious elements. One is offering obeisances, and the other is uttering a prayer. That's part of it. And the third element is glorification. Glorification. Just like the Tulsi song we sing, has all 3 of those. Namo, Namo. It starts out with obeisances, right? Namo, Namo, Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Then you praise it. Those who surrender unto you have their desires fulfilled. In other words, you're so exalted a servant of Krishna that he's so pleased to that he'll fulfill all the desires. Every desire we have, material or spiritual, is ultimately fulfilled by Krishna, either directly or indirectly. He makes that point in the Bhagavad Gita. You may pray to the demigods, and if you get what you want, or what you think you want, that benediction is actually coming from me. They can't give anything that I don't empower them to give. You see? So, but the problem is you worship the demigods, you worship me indirectly, and this is called avidi purvakam. It is not according to the rules and regulations, and whatever you get in that way is temporary. Unlike any benediction I directly give, because you're a bhakta, which is eternal. Just like it said, whatever advancement you make in this lifetime, even a little bit, that's to your eternal credit. Then the next life you start from there. Nothing like that is there for materially. The millionaires and the billionaires, they're going to leave all those millions and billions here, and they're going alone to face Yamaraj, and who knows what they're going to experience. You know how much pain you got to cause others to become a billionaire? Anyway, I don't even want to think about it. So Dhruva is saying, what does he want in this prayer? In this particular prayer, he's not offering obeisances. He does that in other prayers. And he's not glorifying. He does that. But here he's actually requesting. So this is something we can also request. So he says, Bhakti mohupa vahatam trahime pasango bhuyarananda mahatama malashayanam yenandisobada maru vasanam bhavamdin neshe bhavadgunakatam matapana mattaha. So he says, my dear Lord, please give me the association of your devotees in whose heart bhakti, devotional service, is flowing like a powerful river. Pavahatam is a river. Mahi prasanga, let me have not just sangha, because we know about sangha, sadhu sangha, but prasanga. The prefix pra in Sanskrit intensifies. In other words, not just a casual meeting with a great saint, which is good, but actually let me sit and hear and associate and serve. That's prasanga, you see. So let me have that kind of association with your great devotees. What will that produce? Prasango bhuya mahatam amalashayana means their heart. Here's the word asha again. Their hearts are completely pure of all material desires. That's amala, without any dirt. Amalashayanam. What will be the result? Well, the first result will be, by that association, I will easily be able to cross over this very dangerous ocean of material life, which is full of blazing fire-like dangers. I always remember that phrase of Prabhupada. Ulbanam. Why? Because I'm becoming mad to hear the nectar of your Krishna Katha. The point is, the very means of advancement and attaining love of Krishna, which is hearing. We heard that also as part of the 9 processes. Remember the first 3? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. First one is hearing, and then chanting, repeating what you hear. Hearing, chanting, hearing, chanting. It locks in the mind. It's meant to. We're hearing and chanting the holy name, but the mind is wandering. But the idea is to bring it back. So you're hearing the holy name and you're chanting the holy name. You're hearing the verses, you're chanting the verses, and you're meditating on them. You're thinking about it, and increases your remembrance. So that in the association of devotees, when the vibration is so potent and pure as it was with Srila Prabhupada, how was he able? He said, "My dear Lord, I've come to this Western land, and people are all steeped in the modes of passion and ignorance. How are they going to be attracted or want to hear what I have to say? Give up your illicit sex and intoxication." He once said, I thought as soon as I told them that, they're going to tell me to get on the boat and leave. That's what he said. And he had a hard time finding a receptive audience. Finally he did, and people listened. So by hearing from the empowered devotees, there's a potency to the sound because they're living it and they realize it. So, and then I will easily be able to cross over this ocean of birth and death. So that's what he's praying, and it's a good prayer for all of us too. That's the whole reason Prabhupada started this movement. This room here, in this temple is being maintained. It was founded and nourished to grow and maintain, to provide a place where you can come and it'll automatically remind you of Krishna. The people there are serving Krishna, glorifying Krishna. You look on the walls, the paintings of Krishna, of course the deities, and of course the kirtan. It's all centered on Krishna and our relationship with Krishna and learning about that. Otherwise, if it's just a book, it's not going to work. Prabhupada, he was just one man, one great devotee, so he was sending his books out here and there and putting them in libraries, But he knew very well he needed an institution. He needed a place where people could come and actually cultivate that delicate creeper of bhakti and themselves become empowered to give it to others. That's how this movement grew. So it's all there in that prayer of Dhruva, and we can also pray like that. So that's one of the reasons, obviously Lord Chaitanya loved this pastime. And the other thing about it is his heroism. In a sense, anyone who takes up this process seriously is really is undertaking what seems externally to be a hopeless affair. I mean, millions of births, we've been conditioned, we have all of these habits and these conditioning, all of these doubts, and our ability to focus and concentrate and do it is limited by being in the Kali Yuga, But still, if you make a serious attempt to do it, then that's very admirable. And someone like Dhruva, or I have to compare to Srila Prabhupada, to get on that boat, I mean, that was as heroic as anything Dhruva did. He's risking his life, for us. I mean, that's why we worship. I mean, let's be honest. That's why Jesus Christ is so famous, because he was willing to give the last measure for the benefit of those who needed God consciousness. It's the same thing. All of the great devotees do that. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did that. He was threatened because he was challenging the calcified, hardened caste system in India, where unqualified people take the role of Brahmins. They're born in a Brahmin family, but that's all the Brahmin qualifications. Shamodhammas, they're not controllers of the senses and the mind. They don't have the qualifications, but they want the status because it's very great in society, So, but Bhaktisiddhanta, following Lord Chaitanya, was blowing that up. He was making people, born in Shudra families into Brahmins because they developed the qualifications by the process of devotional service. If you actually follow carefully, you can attain those qualities of cleanliness and self-control and sense control and so on. So that was very seditious, and there were those who felt threatened by that because he was a powerful preacher. He eventually had all these centers all over the country, had printing presses putting out books and periodicals. And he himself was going and wasn't compromising. So they was threatened to assassinate him in Vrindavan of all places. He was on pilgrimage there. He had a whole group, on Parakram. And so how do you do that? Well, okay, you pay someone off, to do it. So the one who they paid off, he said, yeah, I've done some bad things in my life, but there's no way I could do it for a great saint like you, So he warned him instead, But he was willing to risk that. This is an actual fact. Prabhupada also was threatened by the Naxalites. The Naxalites are not so famous. They're communists who were revolutionary. I don't know if you know the history, but in India, Russia was an ally of India. Not Russia, the Soviet Union in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And so all this communist propaganda flooded in there and all this kind of thing, So especially somehow it took hold in Bengal. They're still struggling with that. And the Naxalites, they were like terrorists, So they didn't want Prabhupada, he was holding a big program, a pandal. He sent a note, leave or die, something like that. So what did Prabhupada do? He didn't leave. Fly or die, I'm sorry. Fly or die. So Prabhupada didn't fly, He just went and had the program. So they came in, a whole bunch of them, to the tent. I don't know if you've ever seen a pandal. It's a huge tent with open sides. In India, it's common they have that shade from the sun. And so he's sitting there, and they all come in. So Prabhupada started chanting the Brahma Samhita. He said, give them a seat. Give them a seat of honor, so they all got seats. You're looking there really, stiff. I don't know if they had weapons, probably not. But they were threatening. So he starts chanting the Brahma Samhita, And the very sound vibration and Prabhupada's devotion and his fearlessness, just turned their hearts, It's not that they immediately began chanting and dancing, but they became unthreatening, They lost. And of course, he gave them prasadam, give them some prasadam, But he faced that danger, just like he faced the Jaladuta, the greatest danger. And then there was the affair, the first Rath Yatra. Yeah, not the first Rath Yatra, the first huge Rath Yatra in San Francisco was 1970. There weren't Rath Yatras all over the country at that time. San Francisco was the place for the Rath Yatra. And so, they were building the carts out of this little storefront. They had a place across the street. And when the whole thing was ready, Prabhupada was staying in L.A., and then they said, well, can come up. So he comes up. And then at that time, there was something called the Black Panthers. You have to look in the history books now, And they were incensed after Martin Luther King was assassinated. A lot of the blacks became very militant, So these guys, they would carry guns around, to protect them. So they were like a gang in someone. They claimed the whole Golden State Park as their territory. So you can't have a parade in there, That's our. So they were afraid Prabhupada was going to be on the parade. Prabhupada, we don't want you to go on the Rath Yatra because it's very dangerous. He says, no way, I'm going. So anyway, we had befriended the Hells Angels. Have you ever heard of the Hells Angels? You can imagine. You know who the Hells Angels are, right? You've heard of them? They're like a biker gang. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So they're tough guys with chains and everything. Bikers. So they happen to have a place right near where we were at the first temple, Frederick Street. And, they were playing loud music. It's annoying. But we were given prasadam, so much prasadam, So they became our friends. So they said, we'll provide, the security. We'll be security. So what the Gargamuni did, he was Prabhupada's driver. He said, okay, Prabhupada, we're going to the park for the festival. But he took a very circuitous route, so Prabhupada wasn't there at the beginning. At the beginning of the parade, there was a big rumble. The Black Panthers and the Hells Angels, and the Hells Angels won, but it was disturbing for a while. So finally, Prabhupada came in the middle of the procession. Everything stopped. He got out of the car and started dancing and chanting. There's this video of it. Sometimes we'll show it. Did you ever see that? He's got this incredible dhoti on with purple, silk and everything. And thousands of hippies, were on that parade. You can see. I've got the video. But he was willing to undergo that. In other words, he said, okay, we're not stopping because of some threats. So the point is that this fearless determination to preach Krishna consciousness for the benefit of people, despite any dangers, this is what, Dhruva Maharaj, he showed, this fearlessness even at this young age. So this is one of the things why he's so famous. And when you hear about the glorification of the devotees, you also hear about the glorification of Krishna. So they really go together. And Krishna is very pleased when you glorify his devotees. This is the whole secret, What do we know of Krishna? He's so great, so subtle, beyond our vision. He's adhokshaja. We can't really see him and serve him personally. So he agrees to come in the form of his holy name and the deity, but mostly he agrees to come in the form of his great devotees. This is how we can access Krishna, And when you're serving his devotees, and Krishna becomes very pleased, and you're enlivened in your devotional service. Krishna gives you more taste. This is how he reciprocates. He gives you more taste for everything related to Krishna, especially the holy name, hearing and chanting. And that taste is the first awakening of love of Godhead. Okay, we're almost over. So there's this one series of verses by Rupa Goswami that's quoted in the Bhagavad Gita purport. I forget which purport. And it's the ladder from faith to love, the beginning to the culmination. It's very important to know this. So it's Adau Shraddha Tatak Sadhu Sangha. Here's the Sadhu Sangha again. Adau Shraddha Tatak Sadhu Sangha Ta Bhajana Kriya Tato Anartha Nivritti Sat Tato Nishta Ruchistata Ata Saktas Tata Bhava Tata Prema Vyunchadri Sadhakana Mayam Prena Prarabhave Bhave Kura. Here are the step by step up the ladder. So the first is the faith. Faith here doesn't mean pure, powerful faith. It means preliminary interest and respect. Enough to open the book, enough to investigate more, come to the temple and check it. That kind of faith, which brings you into the association of devotees. Now, with all the media going on, that association can mean hitting the right keys on the YouTube so that you hear a nice kirtan or a lecture. That's also association. But most powerfully is actually coming into the physical association. So by that association, either through some media or directly, one gets the inspiration to also try the process. That's called bhajana kriya, basically chanting Hare Krishna in the kirtan and then on the beads. And by that bhajana kriya, if you get serious, this is all a process of purification. So then one wants to be confirmed, just like in the Protestant church, which means initiation. In other words, to really make this a serious endeavor in one's life, to take seriously this understanding is the most important thing. So that's a very important step. And by that initiation, one gets a real boost in his sadhana. Then sadhana becomes, I experienced when it gets initiated. Okay, now we're serious. I've taken vows, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So then anartha nivritti is taking place. That means the purification of the heart. Anartha is things you don't want. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, doubts, all of that is we've cultivated and accumulated from countless births. So anartha nivritti. Now that process, the speed in which it goes is up to us. That depends on our sincerity and determination. For Dhruva, a mere 6 months in Satya Yuga, it's like snapping your finger. Satya Yuga, you live for 100,000 years. 6 months he got realization of Vishnu. Very determined. That's the meaning of his name. Dhruva means fixed. Fixed, see? So we also have to be fixed. The more that serious we are and sincere and ready to give up those things which we know are impediments and accept those things which are favorable, even though we don't want to do the favorable things and we really want to hold on to the negative things, that's determination. So And as you are not in Dravida, you become more and more fixed. It's called Nishta. Nishta is actual faith. Defined by Lord Chaitanya, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudridha Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Korli Sarva Karma Katoy, is the absolute firm determination and understanding that just by the process of Krishna consciousness, if I just engage in that, all my business will be done. In other words, that's all I have to do. Even to keep body and soul together, I'll do it in a Krishna conscious way, and so that everything is subsumed. That's Nishta. Krishna Bhakti Korli Sarva Karma Katoy. That's all I need to do. And as this is going on, you're getting more and more ruchi. That's the next step. Ruchi is the key. It's the taste. We have such a strong taste for material things. That taste has to be sublimated into desire for Krishna consciousness, for the holy name, for service, for everything directly related to Krishna consciousness. And that ruchi is the first intimations of attraction for Krishna. That's asakta. To really become attracted personally to Krishna, which matures like stirring a big pot of sugar water, so it becomes thicker and thicker into syrup and finally into rock candy. And so after the attraction, then bhava, ecstatic love, and prema with pure love, and that's the final goal. So somewhere along, we're all somewhere along that procession, probably within the first 3 or 4. Anartha Nivritti still going on. And that can take lifetimes, depending on our sincerity. Or it can be very quick. So Dhruva was very quick for him. And we can learn a lot from reading this, and benefit just from hearing it, as we've heard. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments quickly? We've kind of gone over.
Yeah, I was wondering about this backtrack that we just quoted. Is that quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Is it quoted that you penetrate?
It's not quoted. It's actually part of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Yeah, originally there. It is quoted in the CC and is quoted in the purport in the Gita.
I guess I'm wondering that when it's quoted in the purport of the Gita, is that quote coming from the Chaitanya Charitamrita,
You mean what he does for the English? It's originally the Sanskrit in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I think it's probably he's either giving his new translation there or giving a translation of what Baladev Vidyabhushan gave. I'm not sure. We can check. But Prabhupada generally didn't book to book, go and look, what does it say in the CC? In the CC itself, if the verse is quoted several times, he'll just say, see this, for the translation. That's what. Okay, go ahead. You can ask. You just got the mic. Okay. All right, so we'll end with one nice little shloka with a poem. Oh, here you go. This is from Rishabdev, or it's based on Rishabdev. Rishabdev has his most famous verse. He's saying, human life is not meant for, sense gratification. It's meant for austerity. So I put it into a little poem. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. When I discovered that happiness and bliss rhyme, this was the seed of a lot of little poems. Actually, it's a fact. If you look up in the dictionary, it's not happiness, it's happiness. This is how you pronounce it. Because so this rhymes with bliss, happiness and bliss. Can't get beyond it. You like that. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.